Hey everyone. Okay, so I'm the person who made the page. Okay, so we have a Michael Jordan fan who would like to go on. He's from YouTube. He goes by the YouTube username of Average Joe. He has Michael Jordan as number one, and he would like to explain why Michael Jordan is number one. So let me put him on. Hey, thank you for coming to the program.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, so let's just start with this. What made you want to go on the program?
I just heard the program, and I like it, actually. It's good debate,
Thank you.
you know what I mean? And good sports talk.
Thank you.
So I like sports talk.
That's nice. That's very respectful. Okay, so you have Michael Jordan as number one. Feel free to explain if you like.
I do. Before I explain that, I would like to know why you don't think he's number one.
Sure. If you don't mind me asking, why should I have him as number one?
I can't say that you should or shouldn't. It's all subjective. I'm just curious to know, why don't you have him as number one?
No problem. Okay, the reasons I don't have him as number one, it's not just Jordan. I'm not one of those guys he's like, it has to be this guy number one, and this guy has to be number 11. I'm not really into ranking players. When I judge a player, there's different things that I go by. The things that I usually go by are statistics and records. Those are pretty much all you do when you evaluate a ball player. Now, there's other things too. I'm not claiming those are the only things, but those are the main things. And when you go by statistics and when you go by records, he does not have the best statistics of all time, and he does not have the best records of all time. There are other players who have better statistics and better records. Therefore, I don't rank him as number one. When I do rank players, I don't rank him as number one.
I got you on that, and I can't disagree with that at all. Michael Jordan is one of those athletes. He's not measured by statistics or just pure records, but I get what you're saying. But
when you say he's not measured by statistics, all players are evaluated by statistics. It's literally an evaluation of how they're doing, an average of what they're doing, and Michael Jordan fans themselves also go by his stats. You do not agree that stats are what evaluates a ball player? And why is Michael Jordan for you not just statistics? I'm not saying it's the only thing. I admit there's more. But isn't statistics the number one thing?
It all depends on what statistics you're talking about. Because if you're talking about, like, let's say, Michael Jordan, he's not the all-time point scorer in the NBA. He's not the all-time steals leader. He's not the all-time assist leader. He doesn't have the most wins. So, but when you're talking about things like, okay, in the finals, the biggest stage of all, what are his statistics on the biggest stage at the biggest times? I've never seen any player.
Yeah, but you're isolating.
Mm-hmm.
You're isolating round 4 and using that as criteria. Why not round 3, round 2, round 1? And how is a player supposed to have good statistics in the finals if his team is not good enough to go in the finals?
Well, if you go through round 1 through 4, even up to the finals, he dominated every round. Whenever he was in the playoffs on championship caliber teams.
Right, he did well in the playoffs, but he wasn't the only one who did well in the playoffs. But you isolate the 4th round, and you go, well, this is what he did in the 4th round. There's no doubt that he played well in the 4th round, but that should not be used as a criteria of why you're number one, especially when it's not even for all players, because all players can't get to the finals and do well if their team is not good enough to do well. And Michael Jordan himself can't win if he doesn't have a good enough team to win.
That's true, but when you're the one who leads your team, you could talk about people not having a good enough team, but if you are the leader of a team, and if you cannot lead your team to the promised land, then you can't be considered one of the best or the greatest of all time. That's just what it is.
Well, don't most stars have what it takes to lead their team? Magic, Larry, Isaiah, etc. They can all lead their team, but you cannot lead a team to win if your team is not good enough to win.
You can, yes and no. And it's like when I say yes and no, when you mention those guys, Bird, Isaiah, and all that, yes, they had a great team around them. But just because you have a great team, if you don't have a leader, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a winning team. You could look at the Portland Trailblazers that Scottie Pippen was on. That team was a great team, and it was loaded. But they really didn't have that player to actually lead them to being that great all-time team, which they could have been.
Well, again, there's no dispute. There's no dispute that it helps to have a leader. That's not the topic, though. You brought up the topic about how Mike won and led the way, and I followed up by explaining lots of stars lead and win, and you cannot lead a team to win the finals if your team is not good enough to win the finals.
You say lots of stars lead their teams to win. I could count on my fingers in the last 20 years how many stars have led their teams to championships.
You can use a pen and paper. You can use lots of players.
Nope.
You can use lots of people.
Nope.
But even if you're right, let's assume you're right, and there's only a few. So why does Michael Jordan get the nod when others, as you think there's only a few, can do it? Other stars can lead a team to a victory. And again, how can a star lead his team to victory in the finals if his team is not good enough to win the finals?
Well, we're not talking about the stars that aren't good enough. Obviously, if you're not good enough, or if your team's not good enough to, if your team's not good enough to be in the finals, then they can't be a part of the conversation because they didn't lead that team to the finals.
Why is that? That's a knock against the stars. You're ranking stars, but you're like, well, he's not going to count because his team is not good enough. It's a team game. It's not an individual game only. It can be individual, but to win a finals, you need a good team then.
All right. Tell me what star was greater than that you believe was greater than Michael Jordan, whose team was not good enough to make it to the championship round, or I wouldn't even say win the championship, make it there.
Well, remember, my criteria was not just get to the championship round. It could be anything. It could be winning the finals, getting to the finals. It could be winning in the playoffs, or not even getting into the playoffs. You know there are stars out there who had teams like that. Not everyone wins the finals every year.
If you are a star or a superstar and you cannot win a championship, you cannot be put in the conversation of being the greatest of all time. That's part of the criteria of being the greatest ever.
But you say that, but you're still not explaining how is a star supposed to win the finals if his team is not good enough to win the finals? And what about the stars who do lead the way and they win the finals?
Okay. Why are you asking me to, and just so that I understand, you're asking me about stars whose teams are not good enough to win the finals?
That's one. It's also winning the finals, getting to the finals, winning in the playoffs, and getting to the playoffs. Basically, you need a team to win. So how is that star supposed to win if the team is not good enough to win? And then what about the other stars who led their teams to win the NBA Finals then?
Okay. If you're a star or a superstar, there comes a point in time where you are the one that's going to have to carry your team across the finish line. You cannot blame your team, and it happens. If you get beat, you get beat. But if you can never bring your team across the finish line and you're supposed to be a star or a superstar, you can't be considered in that conversation because that's part of the criteria where you're splitting hairs.
Again, how is a star supposed to win if the team is not good enough to win? And what about the other stars who led their team to win the NBA Finals?
Yeah. Well, first of all, this question you're asking me, what about the stars whose teams weren't good enough to win? If you're an all-time great, then I don't know any all-time great, and you can correct me on this. I'm not saying that I'm definitively right, but I can't recall an all-time great whose team at some point was not good enough to win the championship.
No, but you're talking about stars who had a team that were never good enough. That's not the dispute. The dispute is not, hey, there were stars who never had a good enough team. That's not the dispute. And by the way, I would have to think about that. I'm sure there must have been some stars who had teams that were never good enough, but maybe I'm wrong. At least there are stars who did not win
I'm not talking about stars. I'm talking about all-time greats.
What
all-time great do you know of did not have a good enough team to reach the final? or at least reach the finals, much less win.
That's what I meant, all-time greats. But there are stars who had teams, superstars, all-time greats, whatever your label is, Hall of Famers. There are players like that who did not always have a good enough team to win. In fact, Michael Jordan didn't always have a good enough team to win. So would I hold it against, should I hold it, do you hold it against Michael Jordan when he was on teams that weren't good enough to win? Because if you're going by one guy leads the way, then that means it's on him. So that means when he loses, it's on him. Do you hold it against Michael Jordan when he loses?
If he's the leader of the team, yep. But here's the thing. When Michael Jordan came into his prime of winning championships, he didn't lose. So,
well, that's not true. Now you're just making things up, man. If you check the numbers in
I'm not.
He was balling in the. You are, because the numbers are there.
He was not in his prime. He was not in his prime in the 80s. He came into the league in 83.
You're just making things up, man. He was in his prime in the 80s.
That's not a
makeup, bro.
Michael Jordan had to develop into a champion.
Yeah, if a guy is scoring 30 points. Yeah, if a guy is scoring 30 points a game and racking up steals and shooting 50% and winning the MVP, don't tell me he's not in his prime. And then magically the first year he wins, he's all of a sudden in his prime. That doesn't make any sense.
When I say prime, I'm talking about championship prime. It's like, because you can be a great player. You can win MVPs and you can win scoring titles, but that doesn't mean you're a championship player.
Okay, so then if you want to do that routine, then couldn't you find other stars who were not in their prime, and then that's why they didn't win?
Other stars, like when we're talking about all-time greats, who are we talking about? When you say what you just said?
I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. In order for me to answer that question, I would have to waste my time finding, well, who counts as a guy who's young enough, good enough, but not in his prime and didn't win? It's just it's finding things and reaching for things just to elevate Jordan. You really believe that Jordan magically became in his prime the same year he won a ring, that 1991 at 27 years old? 27 is when a man's prime starts. So when he's in his 20 to 26, he's not in his prime, even though he's winning scoring titles, scoring points, making half the shots roughly, and winning the MVP. That doesn't count as prime. And then when I ask you about other stars, you're like, well, who are we talking about then? This doesn't make any sense.
He wasn't in his prime.
You're just making things up.
He wasn't in his prime. The Chicago Bulls were not in their prime. They had to develop, just like most other teams had to. Not everybody comes into the league like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird just off the cuff, and they just got it.
Okay, so when Magic won the title at 19, was he not in his prime? Was he some kind of superhuman being who was winning without his prime? You have to be in your prime to win.
Magic, he was pretty much. Look, Magic Johnson, all through high school, he won. As a senior, he won a high school championship.
Hold on. Hold on. You're changing the topic, man. I know what's happening now.
No, I'm not. We're talking about players being in their prime. And you asked me, Magic was in his prime.
You're going to Magic Johnson's high school and college. I mean, you can do this for any star, man. Do you have to be in your prime to win a final? No, do you have to be in your prime to win the final?
If you're going to lead a team to the finals, you're going to have to be developed to be in your prime. I mean, not everybody is different. Michael Jordan had to develop. When he came into the league to a Chicago Bulls team who was garbage.
No, I don't understand, man. I want to make sure I understand.
That team had to be developed.
Right, but we're not talking about a team having to be developed. Your point was a player has to be in his prime, and Michael Jordan was not in his prime, and it depends on the player. So now I'm following up to you. Let's not go to the team now. We're going to what you explained about the prime. So was Magic Johnson in his prime? And you have to be in your prime to win. And Magic was winning titles before 27 years old. So all those years he wasn't in his prime. Who was he? Was he some kind of kid? And what about all the other stars that win before 27? Magic
and Larry Bird came into the league winning championships. So they were obviously ready. When I say in their prime, they were primed and ready. Wait. That
doesn't make sense. What do you mean they were obviously ready? What did they do different that Michael Jordan didn't do? Check Michael Jordan's numbers.
What did they do different? You're talking about numbers and stats. Just because you have better numbers and stats than somebody else doesn't mean that you win.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase the question. If Magic Johnson scores 18 points a game and gets 11 assists, which is what he kind of does in his earlier years, he got better as time passed. Those are not his best numbers. And Michael Jordan is doing his best in the 80s, scoring 36, 37, 31, 32, and having his best numbers. Why are you dismissing it like, well, you're talking about numbers and stats, like those don't count? The numbers are how a player did in the game. If you play basketball right now, the numbers would explain what you did in that game. So my question to you is, when a player is doing certain things, why do you think Magic and Larry were separate when they were winning, but Michael Jordan wasn't in his prime? How do you know these things, man? Because you're making things up.
Okay. Magic came into the league. He had Kareem. He knew how to use his team.
Oh man, now you're going to
coaches who
dude. No, dude, I'm not going to let you get away. I'm not going to let you get
understood all of that.
I'm not going to let you get away with that.
You have to factor in basketball IQ.
No.
Michael was not in his prime.
Wait, dude, I'm not going to let you get away with that. You can't have it both ways.
You don't have to let me get away. That's a fact.
No,
that's a fact.
You don't know what a fact. Then you don't know what a fact is. I'm telling you right now, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Magic and Bird's IQ was much higher than Jordan when Jordan first came into the league.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying, man. When I ask you about what is Magic and Larry, why are they winning when they're not in their prime, you went to he had a good team.
No,
you're right.
You said they weren't. You said they weren't in their prime. I didn't say that they weren't in their prime. They came in. Magic and Bird came into the league ready.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Magic and Bird were already there.
Dude, that's wonderful. Pay attention to what I'm saying. You're not understanding what I'm saying. When I ask you, why is Mike not winning? You're saying Mike is not in his prime. He didn't have, he wasn't the same guy just because he has good stats. Would you ignore the stats or dismiss it? He's not in his prime. When I ask you why is Magic and Larry...
I didn't say Mike wasn't in his prime. I said the Chicago Bulls were not in his prime. Mike was not fully in his prime,
man.
Not as a championship player. He was not in his prime as a championship player. If you don't understand that players develop and they have to go through a maturation to become a champion, I'm paying attention to it all.
So now you're saying
you don't understand that a player has to mature and come into an understanding of what it takes to win. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Hello, dude. Hello. You don't have to repeat yourself. I heard you the first 11 times. Pay attention to what my father was saying.
Obviously you did. Obviously you did not. Because
let me repeat it for you. Let me repeat it for you so you can make a fool of yourself that I got it. You said to me that obviously you didn't understand championship prime. I didn't say he was not in his prime. He was not in his championship prime. And Magic and Larry had created other players.
You said how do you say he wasn't in his prime when he scored 36 points and getting all these steals and all that?
No. Did I understand what you said? Did I understand what you said?
Did you understand?
Did you? Because you said I didn't understand what you said. So now do you acknowledge that I did?
All right, maybe you did. I don't know. Good. I don't really know if you understand. I just think you have your own way.
So you're still not sure. So you're still not sure. Should I repeat myself again?
Go ahead. Repeat yourself.
Okay. So you're telling me that I, the host, did not get the fact that you, the caller, never said Michael Jordan was not in his prime. He was not in his championship prime, right?
Look, if you don't understand what that means, I don't know what to tell you.
Dude, you just don't want. I see what's going on here. You just are too prideful to admit that you're getting owned. I'm asking you questions, and you're getting cornered, and you can't handle it.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we established that I understood what you said, I'm going to go through it again.
You can't prove anything about Michael Jordan not being number one.
You said to me that basically Magic and Larry were everyone's different, and they had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that they had a better team.
No, I didn't say that. Let's go back to what was said. This is what I said. Michael Jordan was not in his championship prime. So you said, well, how can you say that he's not in his prime if he's scoring 36 points a game, if he has all these steals, if he's winning MVP? And not
that's not what happened.
Well,
when the phone call,
that's what
you understand this phone call. You understand this phone. You understand this phone call. So, dude, don't do that.
So I said to you, and I
hold on. Let's take a time out. Let's take a time out. Don't repeat yourself like that, like I'm a kid. Okay, I understand what you're saying. This is all on tape, so relax. You can always have the audience back you up. I remember what you said in the beginning of the phone call. You did not differentiate between prime and championship prime. You said prime. That's what you said.
Because you didn't ask me a question about prime and championship prime. But I told you what it meant.
Oh my God, this cannot, dude. Listen to what you're saying. Now you're blaming me for not asking.
No, you listen to what I'm saying.
No, so if you're saying it's my fault, because if you're saying it's my fault that I didn't differentiate, then don't say to me I'm not understanding you. Don't say radio host. No,
stop.
You said to me.
This was your thing.
You said to me that the radio host did not understand that what you meant by championship prime and non-championship prime. Now you say to me it's because I didn't ask you. If I didn't ask you, then it's my fault. So why are you blaming me like I'm supposed to know? It's your fault.
Whatever, bro. This is what you said.
Okay, whatever. Right.
You asked me how come Michael Jordan was not in his prime if he was scoring X amount of points.
Let's get back to the topic.
MVP.
Let's get back to the topic.
Okay,
well, whatever, bro. All right. So let's get back to the topic. So Michael Jordan is not in his championship prime. Okay, he's not in his championship prime. Doctor, the guy who's coming on, I forgot your YouTube name, username here, since you are differentiating. Dr. Average Joe, that's his name, Average Joe. He knows when a player is in his championship prime. He knows he can dissect what a player is in his championship prime and regular prime and not in his prime. So let's analyze it.
Yeah, it's called winning 6 championships in 8 years. That's what it's called.
Right, okay. Right. And Magic Johnson, and again, we're going in a circle. Magic Johnson won when he was 19. So was he in his prime when he was 19?
Obviously he was. He came into the league winning championships.
Okay, now you're changing your answer because when I asked you earlier was he in his prime, you said he had Kareem and stuff like that.
No, you asked me a question as to how was it that Jordan wasn't and Magic was. And I said, well, Jordan had teammates like Kareem, and he knew how to use his teammates. His basketball IQ was much higher than what Jordan.
I said
That's
to
what
you
I said.
as a follow-up. No, I know what you said, but you don't remember what I said. After you brought up that he had a team, players on his team, I followed up to you, and I said to you, you can't have it both ways. If you're acknowledging
and I said he knew how to use those players.
Let me finish the question now. So when you were acknowledging that Magic won because he had Kareem and he had a good team, which you're right, I'm on your side. Now you have to be consistent.
No, I didn't say that Magic won because he had a good team.
Let me finish.
That was not the question.
No.
You asked me earlier.
I know you didn't. No, I know you didn't use the words team. But when you say he had Kareem and he had other guys, that means he has a good team. It's the same thing. He has players that help him win. That was not your question that you asked me earlier about Magic when you were comparing their primes. No, it wasn't my question. No, it wasn't my question. My question was to you. If you're acknowledging Magic had Kareem, a good team, a good crew, whatever word you want to use, a good franchise, he had people to help him win. Now you have to be consistent. Why is it when I mentioned to you Michael Jordan won, you make it seem like it's not a team thing, he led the way? Doesn't that mean Michael Jordan didn't have a good team in the beginning when he came in?
He didn't have a good team when he came in.
Okay, wonderful. So now we establish it's a team thing. So now my next obvious question, which everyone knows what's coming, if we acknowledge Magic won because of his team, and we acknowledge Mike didn't win.
I didn't say Magic won because of his team. Magic led his team. But they just happened to be a great team that happened to win.
You're just putting words in there. It's the same thing.
Not the same thing.
Okay, fine. Let's put it your way. You
cannot compare the Los Angeles Lakers from 1980 to the Chicago Bulls of 1983.
Can you hear me okay? I'm saying save time. Can you hear me okay? I said we'll put it your way. Listen to what I'm saying.
I can hear you
fine. Your way. Okay. No, you cannot. You're talking to yourself. Listen to what I'm saying, man. Don't do that routine, okay? When I say to you, we'll do it your way, you won. We'll do it your way. You don't have to talk to yourself in the background. This is save time and go with it, man. So we'll do it your way. Magic you never said he had a good enough team. You said he led the way. Fine. So he led the way. That's how he wants to put it. Now, Mike couldn't lead the way because he didn't have a good enough team. Do you agree with that or you don't agree with that?
Mike couldn't lead the way because he didn't have a good enough team when he first came into the league.
I'm talking about any year he didn't win in the finals.
There was no year that he didn't win in the finals when he reached it.
Oh, my God. Do you really not know what I meant? He's not winning a finals every year, is he? He's not winning a finals every year, is he?
Which means what?
Obviously, he wasn't in his prime. Oh, his championship prime, sorry. But you know what that means. That means I'm asking you a question. Is Michael Jordan not winning because he doesn't have a good enough team when he doesn't win a final any season? Pick a season.
Okay, when he didn't reach the finals, obviously his team wasn't good enough to get there.
When he didn't win the finals, reach the finals, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm. He
didn't have a good enough team, right?
He didn't have a good enough team to get there.
Oh, okay, wonderful. So now got it. Got you the first time. So now, after about, 32 minutes, we have finally established that a guy cannot win a finals if he doesn't have a good enough team. Why were you disagreeing with me in the beginning when I explained it's a team thing, and you were like, it's Michael Jordan, he led the way?
Bruh, your whole thing about this damn team thing is just stupid, what you just said.
I know, it's not a team game, right? It's not a team game, huh?
If your team's not good enough, your team's not good enough. If that's something that you want to say about it, okay.
Did you want to answer? Did you want to answer my question? He didn't answer my question, actually.
Look, he didn't have a good enough team every year that he was in the league to reach the finals.
I agree with you.
But when he reached the finals,
I agree with you.
But when he reached the finals, every year his team won that he played in the league.
You don't have to tell me this. I agree with you. You're doing it again when you're talking to yourself. I said I agree with you. Are you not paying attention?
What exactly
I agree with
point?
you.
So what exactly is your
point? To you is, can I ask you, why are you not paying attention when I say I agree? Why do you ramble and talk to yourself? Pay attention. I'm saying I agree with you. Let me continue.
I do pay attention, but I just know how you like to try to skew stuff and go in a different direction and switch the topic and then try to come back. Like, we ain't doing it. We're going to stay focused on what you were saying.
When you say that to me, you are literally changing the topic right now because I'm answering your point about prime, rings, individual, and teams. What topic did I change? What was your topic and what is mine?
Doesn't matter, bro. Let's just keep going.
No, it doesn't matter. No, you brought it up. So what was your topic and what did I change it to?
I am not going to get into a circular conversation.
That's what I thought. So you got owned. So you got owned again. No problem. So let's continue with the topic.
I got owned.
So now,
all right.
now you said. Now the question we're having is a team thing versus individual thing. Now, before I continue, is it okay if I talk about teams and rings, or am I changing the topic? Did you have something else? Can I get into this? Where we left off? Is
you
it okay?
Talk about teams and rings, bro. You got about 5 minutes.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. So anyway, what was that? 5 minutes? What was that?
You got 5 minutes.
You have to go in 5 minutes?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So you don't want to stay on too long because you're getting old, right?
If you would like me to come back on, I'll be happy to come back on.
Oh, I would love to have you back on. I think the audience would dig you, man.
I would love to come back on so that you can own me some more.
You know what? You don't even have to agree with me. We'll let the audience decide who owns who. I'm obviously owning you. Now, I'll tell you what, man. I will give you $100 if you can point out to the exact time where I changed the topic and where you owned me. I'll give you $100.
I'm not even going to go there. You
That's what I thought. So I just owned you. I just owned you again. Thank you.
Yeah,
you don't want to make $100.
You
must be a
own
rich
me.
Man. Okay.
This is your show.
You don't want to make $100? I'm offering you money. Why don't you want to take money?
You can go ahead and keep your $100. I'm good.
Okay. So most people in the audience, I own them again. It's obvious. Okay. Anyway, so let's get back to the topic since you got to leave in a few minutes. I'm glad you're laughing, man, because the audience are going to have a fun time with you too. So now we acknowledge Michael Jordan did not win because he didn't have a good enough team. We acknowledge that finally. And Magic didn't start winning until he had certain players, good enough team, Larry Bird, certain players. So you acknowledge it takes a team to win. Now, why in the beginning of the phone call, you can play back the tape, because I'm sure you're going to deny it. Why in the beginning when we were talking about you need a good team to win? You can't lead the way if a team's not good enough to win. Then why did you disagree? Why were you acting like you're not on the same side?
Well, I don't think I disagree with you. I think we were talking about stars and what if they didn't have a good enough team to win, and we were talking about being all-time greats. I said if you're a star or a superstar, and at some point you're going to have to put the team on your back and carry them across the finish line. If you cannot do that, then you're not considered in that conversation. I wasn't talking about that. You didn't have to have a good enough
just to make sure I understand. Just to make sure I understand. Are you talking about? I've asked you this earlier. Are you talking about stars who never had who never won, or any star who sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, or both?
Nah, we're just talking about stars, pretty much superstars, or all. Okay. I was talking about all-time greats.
No. So I know, but you're saying basically sometimes you're referring to both. You're referring to people who never won a ring, or people who sometimes won and sometimes didn't, right?
No, I don't.
No?
Like, we're not talking about people who never won a ring when you talk about all-time greats.
Okay, so there are superstars out there who never won a ring, and there are superstars who don't win a ring every year. So who are you referring to? It's not both?
I'm talking the all-time. We're talking about all-time greats. We started this conversation about why is Michael Jordan number one.
I know what we're talking about. Superstars, Hall of Fame. You're really particular about certain words, man. So Hall of Famers. Can I say Hall of Famers for you? Is that good enough? Hall of Famers. Okay. So Hall of Famers.
It's not good enough because every Hall of Famer is not a superstar.
Can you explain to me?
Every Hall of Famer was not the leader of their team. Every Hall of Famer was not a leader. Some Hall of Famers were just
I got you, man. Remember, you have to leave in 5 minutes, so I got what you're saying. So let me rephrase the question for the correct words for you. So Hall of Famers who were good enough to lead the team. Is that the proper way?
I mean, hey, you can put it that way. Go ahead.
Okay, let's try this again. So there were Hall of Famers who were good enough to lead the way and were on teams that never won a ring, or sometimes they won and sometimes they didn't. Would you agree?
Sure.
Okay. So now that we've established this, I'm still trying to understand something. If you acknowledge they're on teams that never won and they were on teams that sometimes won, then you are acknowledging they need a good team to win. But you're not doing that with Michael Jordan unless he loses. Then when he loses, it's because he needs a good enough team. But when he won, it was because Mike was in his prime. You can't have it both ways. Don't you get the contradiction there?
Look, there were great teams that had Hall of Fame leaders on them that did not win a chip because they couldn't beat other great teams that had Hall of Famers who were leaders.
We know that, man. Thank you for the history lesson. We know that. Now, what's your answer to the question?
Ask Charles Barkley. Ask Clyde Drexler.
Hey, please subscribe, and if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.